Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. We have a really interesting guest with us, Stefan Figley. We're gonna, did I pronounce it correctly? Figley?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He's with us. We're gonna talk about what I consider interest subject, but we'll let him um, tell us about that after. First, we ask our usual questions: his personal background, what's he's doing now, and I love it when you guys come on with your company's logo on there. It makes life so much simpler. And then finally, a website. So, Stefan, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Don. I really appreciate it. Give you a quick on my background. I've been in franchising for a little over 20 years, a certified franchise executive. I've worked on multiple brands from B2C to B2B. Um, I've worked 100% in the service industry, so it's all been around home services or commercial services. So I've had a lot of experience in that. Prior to that, I came out of the marketing side of business. And so I actually worked for one of the largest marketing agencies in the world, Leo Burnett, out of Chicago. Worked all over the world. I did not do the creative. I'm not the guy that drew all the stuff or comes up with all that. I was the guy that did all the analytics. I proved the ROI of the marketing proposals that were put into large brands. Brands that you guys have all heard of, McDonald's, uh, Philip Morris, Diageo. I worked on Chevrolet, a lot of brands all over the world. Got some great experience doing that. Corporate wise, I worked with ServiceMaster Corporate, multiple brands within them, and that's where I got into my franchising world. So prior to that, I was a tennis pro. So
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Stefan, which I always wanted to ask. The franchising industry is kind of a unique industry. Okay, every industry is unique, but what attracted you to franchising?
yeah, so franchising is unique because you have a support mechanism in place. You have a process that you can follow. If you start a business on your own, you're coming up with everything that you're trying to identify, what you need, what you design, what's required to run the business and make you grow is all coming from you. So you're doing all that research or spending all that time. With a franchise system, there's usually a brand in place, there's national marketing, there's a brand presence in place, um, processes, etc. So you have something to grip on to start your business. Then it becomes, as a business owner, it becomes what you can drive from that. So that's what I like about it is supporting folks.
Well, people argue that what you're doing is in effect buying a salary. Um,
No, I will argue that one, and I can probably give you some proof of why that's not true.
well, uh, I've been to the show for years. Um, I know the good and the bad of franchising. The
Yep.
bad about it is some people simply won't follow the franchising rules. They're the ones that usually go by the wayside.
Yep, that's correct. If you look at even just from what we do at 1-800 Packouts, the folks that think they have a better way to do it or a shortcut have a slower growth process in their first 12 to 18 months from to hit certain revenue numbers versus the folks that are just following the process and then working on their business. And I've got the numbers to back that up for sure. But it is not buying a salary by any means because it is still your business. You are the owner. The franchise system is, and they all vary, but in the service world, it's a process. You're entering an industry. They've got a process to follow. It's been proven. They have several other owners, depending on how big they are. If they're emerging, they still have them that prove that revenues can generate to these certain numbers. That's the benefit that you're getting. If you want to follow that, you've got a roadmap that can help you. You still have to show up every day and put that in. And until you make the revenue, you don't have a salary. That is
Mm.
being your own business owner. That's the case. There is no guaranteed you make this every month. It's not there. You still are your own business owner. And so that's the difference for sure.
Well, let's back up if I may and ask you a
Sure.
couple of questions, which always come up in our focus groups, etc. Well, the first one is, well, if you have one or two store uh, franchise, that's one thing. But if you have five or six, which really is a point at which you really make money, how do you how do you find the people to run your business when you're not there?
Yeah. It takes knowing your business and then doing the right recruiting. And that's how you're going to find them. It's just like any other way, but you're going to find that. So being in a franchise system, we try to help that. We give some guidance around personas, concepts, mentalities, et cetera. We have some research that's been done off of the existing people that have um, uh, GMs so that they're not working in the business every single day. So they have a general manager that's running their operation. But as you get started, most of those folks were in the business for at least 12 months. They worked it themselves, they did the operations, they know what's going on in the bookkeeping elements, and then they say, I want to be a little more absentee. That's an investment that they make. So if you were making certain money and you now want to make it absentee, you still have to put the right people in it to continue that growth. Sometimes you see it, and I think you kind of mentioned it. Folks try to step out and it plateaus. It only stays at the same thing. They got to keep finding the right people. So we help them from a side, for example, on a franchising side, we have some job descriptions, then we have some personality traits that they should look at to hire and types of questions that they could consider as they look for these individuals. We also have some partners that work within our industry to find talent that meet that criteria for them so that they're not starting from scratch. And that's the benefit of that franchise system as well. So that's how they can find out to step out of the business.
Well, prior to this, finding people who didn't want to be entrepreneurs but rather have a salary was relatively easy. But as you notice, a lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs in this world today. And they're the people that I always think were the GMs of the future. Is that you seeing that it's harder to find the general managers of your businesses?
Yes, it's getting a little more difficult. I think more people are becoming entrepreneurs, so there's less of the trained individuals to run a business. Many of those folks are finding their opportunities, whether it's their own, they're starting their own, or they're moved into a franchise system and bought their own franchise to operate. And so in doing so, that depletes those general manager characteristics from happening. So what you would expect is with the less of that, but people being entrepreneurs, are they training up the next general manager base
Mm.
and giving people enough experience? But I do think we have more accessibility to funding and so forth. So some of these people that might be stepping towards that general manager position are actually skipping the general manager position and moving to the entrepreneur position. And so, yes, the finding the motivated general manager that wants to be paid on a salary basis, maybe plus a bonus on performance, does become difficult. And now we're getting it sliced up into all the different industries. And so, not just a general manager. We all think that you need the general manager that's been from this industry because it's easier. You don't have to train them as much. They already know what's going on. As much as that's great, maybe some of the best talent are not just from the industry that you're in, and you just need to work with them and coach them in the right direction that they can be the next best general manager for you. But yes.
Well, tell us what Packouts is about.
Sure. So packouts is the content section of the restoration world. So if you think about disaster restoration, not just, oh, rebuilding something in your house and you want to restore your house a little bit. We deal with disaster restoration. So if you have a flood, a fire, mold, uh, and the whole idea of the industry is you have to the mitigation, you have to remove the problem, and then usually to remove the problem, you have to remove people's personal belongings. So we deal with just that section, the personal belongings. We inventory them, we clean them if necessary, and we store them while their property is being put back into its regular state and
Mhm.
livable. And so that's our focus. So we deal with all personal belongings, and we deal with the insurance world. We can deal with it from a direct to consumer role if we want, if they want it that way. But a majority of our work comes out of an insurance-based lead, if you would. Somebody had a water leak, or they had flood damage, or rain damage, storm damage from a tornado, or straight line winds or hurricanes. All of that goes on. Fires are the other element. Kitchen fires tend to get soot all over the house because it gets into the AC system and blows dirt everywhere. Um, so all those elements impact. And we only focus on the personal property side, only the contents of a property. That's what we'll
Well,
deal with.
obviously, we're talking about clothes. What other uh, things are personal property?
Sure. Everything, furniture, electronics, art, fine art is another one. We don't do it. We usually subcontract that out. That's a very special element. There are a few vendors in the industry that focus on this, and insurance companies want that if you have a really big, valuable piece of fine art. But a lot of furniture, the bed, dressers, coffee tables, kitchen tables, sofas, all your belongings. You'd be shocked at how much stuff you actually have when something happens. You always do it when you move. You're like, where did this all come
No,
from?
no, I wouldn't because we had a cellar disaster, um, and then we had a disaster in our move, and between the two of them, I hate to tell you what happened, but well, let me ask you this question then. Somebody comes to you and says, I'm thinking of your franchise. What are some of the questions they should be asking you, and what are some of the questions you should be asking them?
Good. That's a great question. Some of the questions that I think all people that are looking at a business, no matter what, they need to look at the fit. And so they need to be asking what type of lifestyle are they thinking that they're going to balance with the business that they want to be in. And I think, as you would know, the first year to 2 years is a lot of work of owning your own business. And I think that's a little bit of a misconception that some folks have coming in. They think that they, like you said, they jump in and there it is, money's coming in the door. You got to work a lot on that. So that's one of the things they need to ask. Is this a 24/7 job? If you look at the mitigation side of our industry, most of your calls are coming in the middle of the night. Ours are not. Ours are set a little more towards the regular daytime hours, 5 days a week. Um, that's a question to ask. What's the involvement? Do you want to ask what support mechanisms are involved by the franchisor? What are they going to deliver? What's the process? How do they work with you? You want to then ask, what types of franchisees are there? How's the network? Because that's the support mechanism that you have. That's the backbone. It's not just calling the franchisor. You want to call other people that are doing the day to day. And it's a brother and sisterhood. It's a family type of element where you can pick up the phone and call an owner in a different location. Say, I'm dealing with this today. Have you dealt with this? How do you do it? Um, then you want to get back into the support mechanisms of where are they can, what other elements do you bring to the table as a franchisor? Do you have buying power that helps me get discounts on things? That translates to profitability down the road for you. So those are the types of questions. Uh, Protection of the market that you're buying. Do you allow other franchise owners to enter the same market? So then you know if you do, you have a chance to compete against your own brand in a market that may not be what you want to do. So that's another thing to think about when you're asking a franchise or a business of what they're going to do. What we ask owners, what are you looking to get out of this? How quickly are you looking to make this your mainstay for you and your family? We don't want folks that are looking, they think they're going to get paid and break even in 2 months of being open, that they have the right business mentality to it. We look at empathy in our business because we deal with people's personal properties at a time of urgency, in a time of disaster. They are in shock when something happened. They don't know what their next step is. And so if you're robotic and you don't really care, you're just trying to do the job, that's not going to translate very well to someone that's trying to figure out if they're able to keep an antique piece that's been in their family for a little bit. Um, Offering solutions. So we work through that with that candidate. So those are the types of questions we look at as well for a candidate coming on board.
Well, it's got to be tough dealing with the insurance company that wants to minimize their money, and the homeowner is sitting there. You got a tough role. You got a tough job there.
It is difficult, but part of it is we try to help the homeowner understand what rights they actually have in their insurance policy. Many folks don't really know what their insurance policy and homeowners policy covers. For example, one of the big things that happened in the hurricane that moved all the way into Asheville, North Carolina, and you saw flooding in the mountains. It was flooding, and many homeowners didn't have flood insurance.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, because it was declared a flood, they didn't have coverage for it. Now, folks that lived on the coast know this. They have flood coverage. And so it's how the disaster is defined. If it's straight line winds, you're going to be covered for that in most cases. So we try to help the homeowner understand what their coverage is. And then as the insurance company and an adjuster will say, yeah, just wipe it down. Don't clean it, just wipe it down. We'll talk to the homeowner and say, here's what the adjusters have provided to us. We're going to wipe this down. These are the things you do have the right to ask for it to be professionally cleaned, and we can do that. And then we give them the choice. Many homeowners want that professionally cleaned, and they'll go ask the adjuster, and it's immediately approved. But we want to make sure that the homeowner's getting their needs taken care of. And so we try to help be a liaison between the insurance company and the homeowner to understand some of those difficulties because it's not something you do every day.
Well, who calls you in, the homeowner or the insurance company, or do you try to and be an ambulance driver?
No.
Oh,
Well,
father.
well, I mean, there's certain times you want to be there to help folks, but we do not do that we don't chase, if you would, like the ambulance chaser, like some lawyers may do and so forth. That's not our recommendation of what to do. But we get probably a majority of our phone calls come from an insurance carrier or their adjuster or a mitigation contractor that's already been involved to remedy whatever the problem is. We do get some calls from homeowners because they get the choice. A homeowner actually has the choice to select who they want to work on their property. It
But
is
they
not
don't know that
dictated. That's
most of
correct.
the
That's correct. You're correct. And that's where some homeowners have learned that they do make the phone call and we get involved and we try to help them. Even if we're not the ones that are selected, we still want to make sure they're getting the best choice that meets whatever their needs are and not just being forced into something that may be not as good for them. but it's not our choice to do that. We present who we are. We talk to the homeowner and allow them to make any choices that they need. But you're correct. Most don't know that they actually have the final choice. It is not
Let's stop
dictated.
here. What's your website for people? So if they want to
Uh,
know more,
sure, very easy. 1-800-packouts.com. Um, it's it's very simple to remember. It's also an active phone number. We answer 24/7 through a call center, and we try to place any contacts that come through directly into a location where the call is coming from. So they're dealing with somebody on the ground, not just in a central corporate location. It's all done. Uh, all we try to make it as local as possible.
well, where are you located nationally? Where's your headquarters?
Our headquarters is out of Springville, Utah, and we have a catastrophe annex based out of Fort Worth, Texas. And so we have multiple locations in that situation, but the catastrophe annex houses some extra materials for our franchise owners in case of large catastrophes where you need a volume of boxes and equipment to handle and help homeowners in a major situation.
Well, let's stop for a moment and talk about dry cleaning. Well, everybody has clothes in the cellar. I don't care who you are. And now they get damaged or
Yep.
they get water. Well, do you then contract with a local cleaner? How does that work?
So for 1-800 Packouts, we have some of our owners actually have the equipment on property in their own facilities. And so they can take care of all of that right there for the homeowner. We store and maintain all property in our own secured warehouses and temperature controlled warehouses. So we don't put them in public facilities. They're all controlled and security by our owners. So some of them can do all the dry cleaning, if you would, around the textile element. So that can be clothes or drapery or bedding. Um, and then if they do not have the capability to do that in-house, we do have partnership with a national wholesaler. So it doesn't go to your local dry cleaner. It goes to a professional dry cleaner that's going to work on more of the disaster elements. So it's going to be around soot or water, like you said, to make sure that it's done at a professional level for the type of damage that has happened, the dirty that happened. If it happened from sewer water, you want to make sure that it's done and done properly, not just once over. So there's processes in the dry cleaning industry that takes care of that in the textile world, using the right type of product to do it, but also protect the garment as well.
Well, let's talk about money for a minute, if we
Sure.
may. If you have to have your own facility, uh, so what are we talking about in terms of working capital that you need?
So on the working capital, so we have in our franchise disclosure document that a startup for the business can run between the minimum around 200,000 up to the 500,000 mark to get things going. From that, the working capital you have to think about is your facility is number one. That's the largest cost that you're going to see. The next thing that you want to put into your consideration is the vehicles that you need. The minimum of one truck. There are multiple options you can use, so cash flow can be managed, but you do have to execute a job. You will have to have the vehicle. Production, for that, you can have 1099 labor for some of it. You do have to train them. Depending on the job, you may not be able to. They need to be background checked on certain jobs. And that's something that we help our franchisees know where that is. So when you look at it, it can vary based on the rent, the lease of a truck, any staff that you're going to have. We recommend that you have a salesperson on staff from the very beginning because you want to continue the momentum of looking and working for the work. And then the production side, usually an owner starts on the production side as they start at zero and they start to grow their business. They will run that production side, usually bringing in part-time labor from a pool of people that they have vetted themselves, put in through some background checks. and know that they can pull from a group when they have a job that pops up. So those are the basics. The other one that you have to watch is your insurance. You have to be fully insured. Insurance companies do not hire folks that do not have insurance for to do the work that's available. So that can vary all over the place. I can't give a direct number on that because it will be different in Texas and California, for example. And you go to New York and prices are going to vary again. So, but that's where you're going to balance out to see what your working capital necessity is.
Stefan, oh, it's been so fascinating. We've we've almost come to the end of the half hour, and we never got to your topic. But I'm much rather talk about that because I think people are very interested in it. But let me ask you another question. Let's say a retail operation has a flood. Is it different? Is the process different, or um, is it more difficult, less difficult? Uh, can we address it when someone owns it? Because 97% of our audience own a business or run a business. So,
Mhm. It's a little bit different. It depends on what's going to be in it. So the retail shop has, right, you're going to have different insurances that cover that. Loss of work due to a storm damage. So you still are going to be able to make some money while you're closed. But we work with a lot of folks and they want to get open as fast as possible. Again, so they're making revenue, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. You want to make the revenue. That's how you make your margins. You make profit. So again, it depends on what needs to be done. A lot of that can be done very quickly. So if it's a retail store with shelving and it had water come through, the mitigation is going to be the largest part of that. And then all of the retail shelving material that's used can be removed, cleaned, and be ready to go back once it's all built back. The material that the product that they have is going to be the next thing. Is it salvageable or not salvageable? That's a big question. So if it's a retail store that sells clothing, if it got wet, most likely, I don't think that's going to be salvageable at a brand new retail level. And so that's an insurance that they already have. There's going to be coverage on that, how to deal with it. We can probably get it clean for them. What they're going to do with it will be up to that retailer on what they're going to do. If it's and I like, a store that has physical products in it, it depends on how damaged it got. If it was a fire and it's soot, we can clean everything and get it back up and ready to go, and it didn't damage the product. If it was sitting in water for a day, like after a catastrophe storm, again, it's going to go back to that retailer. Know they know what they're going to be able to do with it or not do with it, um, and so that's where it's going to continue to vary. We've dealt with offices. We can legal law office flooded, a medical
mm,
facility flooded. You can actually save the paper and the documents. A lot is now stored electronically. But we can do a lot, and that's where they're going to want to get folks around the content and the
mm,
mitigation side in to know what can be done to help them.
mm.
But it is a little different on the commercial side of it.
Well, Stefan, we only have about 2 minutes left. What would you like to leave our audience with? But first, start by giving your website again for people who want to learn more.
Absolutely. Our website is 1-800packouts.com, and we're happy to answer any questions, whether it's business related or disaster related. We'll help anybody, even to review their policies to make sure they're protected. For example, if they're a small business, what happens if this is, and what do I need to ask is my first question. So that's something I would leave with
I,
folks as
I
well.
was surprised. 70% of all small businesses do not have interruption insurance. I didn't know if you.
That's correct. That's what I've seen as well. My wife has a business that she runs, and we do not have interruption insurance. It's a cost that I think a lot of folks look at, but they're trying to save their money. Insurances have gotten so expensive. Um, but the question is, where are you located? What's the situation? There's certain places I would say don't pass on it. It's the same with homeowners. Don't pass on flood insurance in certain areas. Um, do an evaluation on it. Flood insurance isn't necessarily an outrageous cost, but evaluate it if you have a home and you think you might be at risk. It's worth taking a look, not just if you're in a flood zone. So those are just some things, but know that you have a choice as a business owner or a homeowner that when something happens, you have a choice. You're not just forced and required to use something that's thrown at you. Do a little research. We do vary. There's a lot of us in the industry of restoration. We're all here to help people. Most of us are very used to dealing with this on a regular basis. And it's not just 1-800 packouts, it's the industry. We take pride in that as an industry, and we're here to help folks. As I say, I don't have a lot of repeat homeowner customers because if you are a repeat customer, you either have really bad luck or you have a lot of houses, if you look at it that way. So, um,
But do you get
so it's something
referrals?
new all the time.
Do you get people to tell you, for instance,
Absolutely.
that,
Yes, and I mean it's a large referral business, and that's how you get a lot of information, right? You hear from someone something happened to you, you're seeing if someone you know in your family or your friends maybe it happened. Nobody's running around saying I had this great experience from this company that took care of my belongings. I worked in pest control. You don't go to a party and talk about the pest control that you have at your house, but
no.
you have it, because so again, it comes in a time of need. And so ask the questions. And I think more and more folks are doing that on a regular basis. And then that's where you're going to find out if you had a good feeling. You're going to tell people when they're asking about that. Oh yeah, call 1-800 Packouts. They helped us out a ton. They really knew what was going on and they took care of a lot of stuff. So that's
Okay.
what we're proud of.
Well, on that note, we say thank you, Stefan, for a very interesting and illuminating time together.
I appreciate it, Don. Thanks for having me on.